Okay, I'm from Sarawak. I want the improvement of facilities and technology so that our youth can move on, okay, and can further study for their education, and it's easy for them to find their job and get the information.
Okay, I believe there should be more public universities, not only in Kuching but also in Miri Sarawak. And then in Sarawak, we have a lot of untrained teachers. This is because of a lot of youth, there are a lot of young graduates that couldn't find a job because of the less job opportunities in Sarawak.
Okay, as a student, I want a better development in Sarawak, and the most important thing, I want government to listen what student want, what our needs, and not just assume what we want.
Okay, what I want from my leader, okay, I want them to be respectful towards their community, okay, and then I want them to become honest, okay, towards our community, because we are going to work with them, and then I want them to be responsible. Don't just listen to the community's problem, but don't know how to settle the problem.
Hi, you are watching Vantage Point PRU, and we are right here in Kuching, Sarawak at the Riverside Majestic Hotel to talk about what are some of the issues that are main concern the youth most, and what are their aspirations, especially in light with the 13th general election. I would like to firstly thank and welcome my three guests today. I will start with, on my right is Gadashli Bodos. He is a fresh graduate from UFSI, and now he is back in Kuching. And on my far left is Paul Raja. He is the Vice President of UITM Sarawak Student Council. And next to me is Mr. Larry Sung. He is the Youth Advisor in the Chief Minister's Department. Now, if there's one word I could use to describe Sarawak, is diversity in terms of culture, economics, and socially as well. Now, with 2.3 million people comprising over 40 different ethnic groups in the biggest state in the country, there are vast opportunities, especially in economic resources, but so as the challenges as well. And one of the issues that I've been speaking to youths in Sarawak, and one of the main issues they say is inclusivity, and such as bridging the economic and social gap, especially in the rural and urban area. I would like to go straight to Paul. Paul, you have just you are about to complete your studies soon, and
yes, I am.
And what are some of the main issues that concern you most? What is on top of your list?
On top of my list, well, perhaps I have two main issues. The first one would be the lack of platform for youth to actually portray, to actually bring out their passion, their creativity, and also the lack of representation, platform where they can actually voice out what do they want. Because I mean, we do have youth agencies in Sarawak itself, but I must say that it is really unfortunate that most of them are actually headed by people who are no longer in the youth definition of 40 years old and below. And furthermore, the lack of activities, youth activities, because yes, it is good that ministries have conduct activities in Sarawak, but then instead of focusing on getting the youth as participants, perhaps bring them in also as organizer, because we do say that the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. Yes. Why procrastinate? Let them have hands-on opportunity to be part of it, because for the youth itself in Sarawak, they are anxious to matter, not just to be there for display only.
Okay, when we talk about being more engaged and having a bigger stake in actually transforming policies to transform and improve the state, maybe Larry, you advise the government on youth issues. For on your side, what do you think is the issues that concern youth most? Are we on the same level, the youth and the government? Do you really understand what does the youth want? Maybe on your side, what are you working on?
Well, the government has been working very closely with the youth since 2009 particularly, and we have been conducting several research and surveys on the ground to actually with youths from age of 15 to 40. And when we look at 15 to 40, that's a very big group. We're looking at students in schools, secondary schools. We're looking at those in colleges and universities, as well as polytechnics as well. And we're looking at young working adults. So from our findings, we found that each different segment have different needs and different wants and different aspirations as well. So in order to tackle these aspirations and needs, we need to actually engage them on a more frequent basis. But also having to understand the situation in Sarawak. Sarawak, unlike in other states which are perhaps more small and more concentrated, is such a huge, vast state, landmass-wise, and as well as rural and urban differences, you know.
I would like to just go to Gadashli. You recently graduated. Is job opportunity, employment opportunities, attractive ones, is that a concern for youths and maybe your peers around your age?
Yes, of course, because we just graduated, right? So of course our main objective when we finish our studies is to find a job, permanent job especially, because you know, like myself, I'm already 25, so it's like it's the most important year of my life to find a good job with high.
What about
high
in Sarawak
salaries.
itself? Do you feel that it's hard for you to get, find a job that suits your skills, your training?
Yeah, because I spoke to one of the students from UiTM Samara, and they were saying that the problem in Sarawak is that fresh graduates find it difficult to find a job that suit their qualifications, their skills, and then this will force them to become teachers, for instance, and that causes the number of untrained teachers in Sarawak particularly to increase, and this could inevitably affect the quality of the education.
Just add my comment in this matter. As far as interest in working in the civil service, there has been a huge interest among almost all races.
Okay.
And of course, in terms of opportunities, the government has been providing a lot of opportunities in terms of increments in jobs and also job security as well. So definitely the demand to work in the civil service is quite high. Of course, we cannot accommodate everyone. So in the case of teachers, I know that the state government, we have actually been voicing out this matter to the education department to see whether we can get a larger representation of Sarakians in the line of education.
Okay, I'm going to cut you short and go for the first commercial break. But when we come back, we'll talk about still on the topic of economic opportunities, because we know that in Sarawak, one of the massive projects is SCORE, the Sarawak Corridor of Renewable Energy. And along that line, in 5-10 years, there will be enormous 1 million job opportunities. But are the youth today ready to take on the jobs? We will discuss after the break. Welcome back. Now, one of the projects that is taken by the state government, the federal government to make the country to move towards a high-income nation is SCORE, which is the Sarawak Corridor of Renewable Energy. But one of the concerns from youths when I speak to them is that they feel that this SCORE, they do not relate to them, and they feel that it's only for big businesses, tycoons, and multinational companies. So when we talk about understanding SCORE itself, there is still a lacking. Perhaps there is a problem in engaging the youth and telling them how SCORE would benefit them. Maybe Larry, share with us.
As far as SCORE is concerned, SCORE is the next big thing for Sarawak, and we're looking at investments that go into billions of ringgit, and includes creation of jobs that goes into thousands, or even according to our study, we're looking at close to 1 million. Of course, when we look at this, we have to tailor the education system, as well as the courses that are being provided by the education institutes to cater to the job opportunities that are available.
Yeah.
So what the government has been doing is they have been working closely with the universities. We are doing a study to actually see whether those courses that are being produced, those courses in the universities, whether they produce the sufficient number of human capital that's required by SCORE. And this will hopefully...
Just stop you there. There is one problem that is facing Sabah Sarawak is the migration of youths to Peninsula, to Johor, to Singapore to seek better employment opportunities, because they have this perception that the pay is better there, bigger, a much bigger exposure. And maybe Paul, you could tell us, this perception, and Larry, on your part, how can we attract youth to stay and develop the state and not go out to other countries or other states? Maybe Paul, you could start.
No. Yes, it's true that perhaps SCORE program will actually give us a lot of opportunity, especially to the youth itself. But then the skill itself, and how does it... It is true that what you actually said earlier on, because personally, I do not feel that it is actually relevant to me. I'm currently doing my bachelor in administrative science, and none of my subject in my class is actually equipping me for SCORE program itself, because the concept of SCORE itself and how am I going to actually fit into it, how am I a part of this jigsaw puzzle, we are actually quite blur about it. So that is why it actually caused us to seek for greener pasture, perhaps elsewhere. And this has caused a huge problem for brain drain in Sarawak itself, especially from the youth.
Okay. I think this goes back to also globalization, something that we cannot avoid as a state, Sarawak as a state, and Malaysia as a whole, as a country. It's happening across the world, and as a country, we need to keep up. But what about Sarawak as a state? Is Sarawak keeping up with globalization as well, in terms of keeping up with other states in Malaysia? For instance, like internet penetration. There are some places outside of Kuching, such as Miri, where people are complaining that they're not getting access to the basic necessities such as the internet. How is the situation?
Comment on this matter. As far as Miri is concerned, Miri does have internet access. My wife's from Miri, so I go to Miri and I use the internet quite
Probably
often.
not the whole of Miri, but certain locations.
Maybe okay, I can consider maybe certain rural areas they may not be fully covered, or maybe the line may be a bit slow, But most of the towns, major towns, and also the smaller districts have been covered by internet access.
It's uneven development, between the urban and the rural areas. How are we gonna,
okay, I know how to answer that question, but I'd like to address Paul's question as well earlier. Paul's question about job opportunities. I've actually been traveling in West Malaysia as well as other places to speak to youths and to ask them to actually explain on SCORE, as well as to find out their feedback. And what I gather is that for them, job opportunities are available in Sarawak. They are available, but of course, when you look at places like West Malaysia, of course, the salary may be a little bit higher. But of course, when you talk about higher salaries, you're also talking about higher expenditure. So, end of the day, this is up to the individual's choice. But in terms of your other question, in terms of rural-urban divide, when we do our development in Sarawak, our transformation, for the state, we are looking at how we're going to invest our state's resources, our limited resources, into income generating projects. Of course, the focus has traditionally been in areas like high-tech industries, and of course industrial development, of course agriculture to some extent, and of course we also look at forestry, timber development, and of course now quite recently we're looking at power. Power is going to be something that is the way of the future. It's going to generate a lot of income, revenue for the state, as well as provide water source supply. So that is something that we are looking at.
Maybe we could go to Gadashli. I mean, what are your thoughts about all these initiatives that has been taken by the government? And do you feel connected to this, for example, just SCORE, or do you feel that it relates to you and maybe your peers? I mean,
okay, actually, what the youth need is a window for them to actually, to engage with the development of Sarawak. If you look at the job opportunities, actually the window is not wide enough. Okay, some youth even don't know how I can apply for this job, and some of them even don't know what it is about. Okay, what is SCORE? Okay, most of them don't know about it. And then if you look at the rural areas, okay, it's really hard to find like internet service, or even if you use broadband, even some of the area actually cannot connect to the internet, because even the telephone line is, it's not covered there. So the development is actually going on in Sarawak, but if you look carefully, if you look at the facts, the reality, actually a lot of because Sarawak is a big state, right? So of course you need a lot of money and you need a lot of funds, to actually develop Sarawak.
No, because you see that most of the jobs that SCORE is about to provide is very specialized. For example, like the Halal Hub in Tanjung Manis itself, how many of these people are actually specialized, and how many of these courses actually specialized towards that? So this would actually cause problem when they do not have the skill, knowledge and ability to do so. Then foreign workers will be hired to actually take that job. And
SCORE actually has 10 major sectors. So in terms of fisheries is just one of them. Of course, there are other areas like agriculture. There are also areas of which is related to power generation and others, So tourism as well. So I mean, in terms of SCORE, what we call Sarawak Corridor of Renewable Energy, we actually develop a few major new industries in the state, but there are also other industries which have been promoted and also supported by the state as well.
I think perhaps to round up what Gadashli and Paul say is that they need more information. They need to know how does this relate to them at the end of the day.
The information has to get across in a better manner, I think. It's not getting there yet, but perhaps we are getting there.
No, but that's a very interesting point.
Okay, sorry, I have to cut it short, but I have to go for the final commercial break, and we'll be right back shortly. Hi, we're the last segment of Vantage Point PRU, and when we talk about developments, there is a misconception that Sabah and Sarawakians, they want development like KL, like a metropolis. But then again, Sarawak, for example, is a unique place and they have their unique strengths. And what kind of developments in terms of social economy does the youth want to see? Because they are the people that will transform the state in 5 to 10 years down the road. Paul?
No, the youth itself, that's really good, because are we actually given the opportunity to be a part of this? I mean, does the ministries, government ministries actually come and engage with us and say, what do you want? How can you contribute? All right, this is the platform for you to contribute. This is where you can actually come out with your passion, come out with what you want, innovate, build something up, and we will finance and we will guide you. But the lack of engagement from the ministries and the gap between the ministries and the youth itself is rather obvious and apparent that we do not actually feel valued. And when it comes to this, we tend to be more towards ourselves. We become selfish and we tend to think about ourselves only and not contributing.
When we talk about this, this gap, if we look at the recent incidents that have been happening, students nowadays, they are more bold and more brave than ever than we've seen in the past, even 5 years, and they are very aware that they are able to express their grievances, their concerns, and so this comes into place with freedom of speech, something that we are all entitled to as according to our constitution and all that. But just like democracy, freedom of speech in every country differs, depending on the demographics of the country and the people and how the system works. In your view, is the youth channeling these concerns, in an appropriate manner, or are they lacking the knowledge on, the right avenues that they could actually utilize so that the impact of what they're trying to say really gets across?
Okay,
what do you think?
Well, I mean, right now people they talk about like freedom of speech, and then but the question is, do we have that wide space of democracy? Yes. People always think that we are living in a harmony country. We don't have any any problems with in terms of politics, economy and things like that. But actually, especially like us, the youth, we actually don't feel that we have that wide space of democracy.
So what's your definition of freedom of speech?
Okay, I think my definition would be like, the youth should be given the chance to express themselves, express their thoughts, publicly. I mean, the government should, I think they should do more public debate, among the youth. I think they should do that.
Let's go to Paul before Larry, you can respond to that question.
I would use the word empowerment. The youth should be empowered. The people should listen to the youth, because these are the people who are going to take over the helms of the country. They are going to lead the country to greater heights. So right now it is important to listen to them, to get their opinion, and to perhaps understand them. Yes. What do they want, instead of assuming their needs, because that may not be what they really want for themselves.
Okay, Larry, do you understand what do they want?
Yes, I do. I'll try to answer both points. Actually, we have from the government's point of view, we have been trying to get youths involved in many various organizations. But if you look at the number of youth involvement in membership in different organizations, youth-based organizations, that has been declining over the years. And if you look at youth involvement in political organizations as well, that too has also been declining.
Why is that? Why do you think is that happening?
Because I think youth, although there's a lot of information out,
yes,
a lot of information out in new media, a lot of information out on the newspaper about the political situation, and also in terms of details of government projects, and also of what is happening all over the world. There is a lack of interest to actually get involved in the organization itself. Although that doesn't mean that they don't have an opinion. They do have an opinion, but in terms of expressing their opinion, they're not expressing it through membership.
Okay.
So that's why we see that there is actually a decline in.
So perhaps it's not really a lack of interest. I mean, I think if we look at youth today, they are very much aware of what's happening, and they have a say. They have their opinions. They want to voice it out. But perhaps, do you think the channels, the mediums that they're using, are not as appropriate or effective?
I totally agree. I totally agree with you.
Okay.
I mean, now today we see a lot of youths expressing themselves on the streets, for instance, you know, protesting on the streets and all that. But what do you actually achieve? You know, this is not exactly the way democracy is supposed to, of how people are supposed to channel their views. You know, the proper way of actually channeling their views is actually through the elected representation, and through the elected representation, they actually voice their opinions through the parliamentary system.
I'd like to go back to my earlier question, in addition to Nadia's question, is young people's participation in politics, because that is where you want to change something, you have to go to politics, because that is where you have the power to change things.
That's very
and
true.
you started really young, and tell us, I mean, your experience, and what do you say in youth participation in politics, and how can we move forward from that? I mean, they want better engagement, empowerment. What is your take?
Personally, my story is actually quite a unique story. Getting into politics at the age of 21, getting elected at the age of 22, you know, and being in politics for all the way till now. So that has been over 10 years. But nonetheless, there has been a lot of interest of political organizations to try to penetrate into the youth market, you know, to get them involved, and also to get them interested in the ideology behind their various respective organizations. That has been ongoing both in government and also in opposition parties as well. But having said that, the challenges that political organizations face is that generally youths do not want to get involved in organizations through membership. And that is why we don't see that much youths getting registered, for instance, as voters, and we don't see them registered as members in parties, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have less than a minute left, and I'd like to ask both of you, maybe young students, what kind of leadership do you want to see in your constituency?
Okay, especially for this coming election, I hope that the candidate will speak on behalf of all Malaysian, regardless of their race, religion, and also, you know, fight for all the community, not just for his or her community. And then, you know, walk the talk, don't just give empty promises to the people. Yeah.
Paul?
I would prefer a more personal approach towards the people itself in your constituent. Open up your door, calm down, meet the people, talk to them, be personal with the people, rather than just have that sense that you are a god above the people. Because, I mean, that is a matter of perception and opinion. But when you actually show that you are personal with them, they know that you are sincere. Sincerity goes a long way in leadership.
When we talk about political parties, it's less relevant, but it's more the integrity and trustworthiness of the candidate itself.
Yes.
Maybe Larry, you will.
Yeah, Larry, I want to say that, you know, these youth, they want to make a change. They definitely want to contribute. So what's your message to all these youth who want to do this?
Get involved in society. It doesn't have to be a political organization. Get involved through NGOs for a start. And if they have a knack for politics, they can join political organizations. Don't be too ambitious at first. You know, try to see whether you can learn the ropes, learn through the various activities and events that are organized by political organizations, and slowly make your way up. I think that's important.
Possible. It is possible.
Definitely is possible.
Yeah.
Definitely is possible. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, that's all the time that we have today, and thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for joining us on Vantage Point PRU, and we'll see you again on the next episode at a different state, but stay tuned on Astro Awani. Thank you.